How can we litter tissue paper into a recycling bin? I unbelievably asked my friend one day after lunch. There were only two types of rubbish bins outside our cafeteria: recycling bins and other waste bins. Why not? Isn't tissue paper recyclable? She answered in amazement, seeming that I had cracked her belief system down. Calming myself down, I explained to her patiently, since you have wiped your mouth with the tissue paper is no longer clean, but is polluted by the germs and oil stain on your mouth. So it is unrecyclable because the dirt on it cannot be removed and reused. But unused tissue paper is also unrecyclable because it is so vulnerable that it will easily become a pollutant that stains other recyclable objects. She kept scrolling on her phone, half listening, half nodding. Yeah, she murmured without much interest. After I finished, she looked at me, a bit confused, a bit impatient. Come on, it's basically the same. Other people throw randomly too, so don't be so serious. I was stunned, not by her mistake, but by her indifference. Have you ever experienced that kind of moment when someone's casual attitude towards something you care deeply about left you speechless? Especially when you thought it was just obvious and everyone should know it. I realized that our understanding of what it means to care about the environment might be fundamentally different. For me, it wasn't just about doing the right thing depending on mood, but a principle, a habit, almost a reflex. For her, however, it seemed like an extra step, a minor trouble, even a pretentious act. That evening, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why did her attitude frustrate me so much? Why couldn't I just let it go, like so many others do? It wasn't the first time things like this had happened. Over the years, I've never tired of sorting every rubbish into their homes, no matter how troublesome it is to separate milk tea bottle into 3 parts and wash them. Bring the same cloth bag when shopping to avoid getting non-biodegradable plastic bags, and saving the inevitable plastic bags for rubbish bags. However, every time I told others about my actions and reminded them to also do so, I always got the same answer. You are too serious. But why was I so serious? Am I an inborn environmentalist or a garbage sorter? As I thought more, I realized that it wasn't just about environmentalism. It was about who I was. When I was a child, I had a strange but strong obsession with organizing. I'd spend an entire morning tidying and arranging my drawers and desk, and distributing books not by language or genre, but by aesthetic harmony with balanced colors and sizes, usually in the order of rainbow. The act of putting things in order and perfection in my own sense brought me peace and satisfaction. Environmentalism, to me, is like a natural extension of that innate pursuit. It was about responsibility, structure, and integrity. Therefore, every time I sort rubbish correctly, it is like a mission accomplished in a video game. I enjoy this feeling of doing something right for myself and the world, even if others couldn't understand my strain of perseverance. But was that the only reason to strive for environmentalism? Was I just addicted to the sense of control and extreme organization? Out of curiosity, I began chatting with people around me, trying to get an insight into their motivations. To learn about them more directly, I designed a short questionnaire that asked about current policies in their neighborhood, their rubbish sorting habits, and the reasons behind those habits. Through the results, the people surveyed indicate that they are willing to sort rubbish and protect the environment in various ways. I realized that none of them were cruel or careless. They were just responding to the world in their own way. I began to see that my dedication, which I regarded as pride, didn't make me better than others. It just made me different. And that difference came not from knowledge, but from something deeper. The preference to relate to order, responsibility, and my own inner world. People's behavior may appear the same on the surface, but underneath the ice sheet, their motivations vary differently. Some people take public transport because they care about emissions. Others do it because it's cheaper. Some use metal straws because of awareness campaigns. Others simply think that it is trendy. At one point, I began questioning myself. Was I only doing these things because they made me feel good? Was I hiding behind my seriousness as a way to feel superior, to judge those who didn't do the same? That thought shook me. I started noticing the subtle judgments I made when I saw someone toss a bottle into the wrong bin or using plastic bags without a second thought. I realized that my disappointment wasn't with the act, but it was with the person. And that wasn't fair, because maybe they were doing their best, just in a different way. Perhaps they were volunteering on weekends, taking care of others, and doing small kindness that I didn't notice. Who was I to decide what good looked like? This shift in perspective didn't make me care less. It made me care differently. I started focusing less on correcting others and more on listening. I began asking, what makes this hard for you, instead of, why aren't you doing better? And sometimes I even let things go, not because I stopped caring, but because I understood that change is a process for everyone. Psychologist David McClelland's theory of motivation helped me see this more clearly. He proposed that people are driven by different needs, some by achievement, some by power, and some by affiliation. Therefore, my friend's initial indifference wasn't a sign of laziness. It was simply a different way of engaging with the world. For me, environmentalism was tied to a sense of responsibility and order, but for her, it might have been about fitting in or avoiding conflict. One day, the same friend who threw away the tissue paper messaged me. Hey, I told my little cousin today not to put dirty paper into recycling bin. Thought of you. It was a small moment, but it meant a lot. Maybe my words hadn't landed immediately, but they had lingered quietly. This showed me that change doesn't always happen through confrontation. Sometimes it's about patience, understanding, and finding ways to connect with others' motivations. Not everyone will care about the environment the way I do, and that's fine. Some people express their care for the world in other ways. For instance, you might not recycle, but spend weekends volunteering at an animal shelter. You might use plastic bags, but donate to educational charities. You might forget to sort trash, but you are always there to listen to someone needs help. Now, when I think back to the scene outside the cafeteria, I no longer feel frustrated. I realize that there are two essential truths about making a difference in this world. First, for those who do care about the environment but struggle to take action, the key is to help them connect with what already motivates them, whether that's saving money by reducing waste, feeling part of a community effort, or seeing the tangible results of their actions. Small, meaningful steps often create lasting change more effectively than rigid expectations. Second, and equally important, we must recognize that environmentalism isn't the only way to care for our world. The neighbor who continuously checks on elderly residents, the co-worker who organizes charity drives, the friend who volunteers at a youth center. These acts of compassion and community building matter just as much. They are different expressions of the same fundamental desire to make things better. That tissue paper moment taught me that real progress comes not from judging others, how others contribute, but from appreciating that we all have different strengths to offer. What unites us isn't identical actions, but a shared commitment to do what we can, where we are, with what we have. And that's something worth remembering every time we are tempted to focus only on how others fall short of our particular standards of doing good. Sometimes it even starts with something as small as a tissue paper. Thank you.